Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Eddie Marcus here again, spokesman and advocate of basic human rights for all people. Today is May the 23rd, I believe. Maybe the 24th, I'm not sure just yet. But this message is coming to you out of urgency. I have championed the message of peace and prosperity and joy for every individual on earth because it is the way of life. And I am a promoter of the way of life. You see, there are many gods, whether we like to admit it or not. Just as there is a God of good, there is a God of evil. Just as there is a God of love, there is a God of hate. And as there is a God of heaven where everything to all humankind can be as if they themselves are God. And together being one God, giving them all that they could ever desire. Then on the other end, there would be a God representing the total opposite, to totally destroy every piece of love outside of themselves, to the extent that it is all used to benefit and maximize the love that the individual has, that is all used against life itself. So that's always there. That's always a given. And so when we start hearing about people talking about a God of life or a God that's giving them the power and the authority to go around and kill, that is not the God of life. That is the God of death. That is the God of death. So if your God tells you to give your life for love, and you do that, that's the God of love, because it took the God of death to take your life. Took your life because the love that you represented was not desired. And for that, the God of death wanted to rule supreme. But regardless of how many gods there might be, there's only one God, and that's the God of truth. And the God of truth will always prevail. The reason that I want to come to you today, ladies and gentlemen, and say that as God has put the power of life and death, God has put the power of heaven and hell in your hands. You have to make the choice. And all, whether you have known it or not, the choices have been made by you. Most of you have been deceived and didn't know that you were even making a choice, didn't even know that you were in the process. Nevertheless, you have been in the process. You've been programmed, deprogrammed, whatever is required to put you in the position that you're in. And what position is that you're in? You're in the position of losing what life is intended to be, and you don't even know it. You don't know that the people who run the world do not care about you, and that is because you do not care about yourselves. You don't know what cared about you really means. Cared about you means much more than whether you got a place to sleep, whether you got food to eat, whether you got education or health care, whether you got something to do, you got a career. No. Caring about you means that everybody got that same benefit. Because as that benefit works for you, if it's working for, and when it's working for everyone, can you imagine what that all working together for the individual and common good of humanity is all about? That's about life. Therein comes creation. But we've been deceived to think otherwise because they don't care about us. Listen here. It's just been announced that the President of the United States has made a proposal to the Congress that will cut billions and billions of dollars from programs that are designed to help lift people up. You see, somewhere in this country, God isn't totally dead. Somewhere in this country, there is a belief that people should look out for others who are less fortunate. There's somewhere in the fabric of America that exists. But you got a president right now who says, to heck with that, cut that down, and take that money and do two things with it. Build up the military, because the military will protect us who got stuff. We're the ones that's important. We are the ones who own everything. We're the bosses. To heck with them. And take the rest of it and give us some tax breaks. They've had too much ride on us, they say. Well, see, this is an expression, if you don't understand, that somebody isn't thinking about you in a positive light. And so sometimes people will wake up and recognize that they must think for themselves. I have proposed to you that you can identify the lie that you've been given. If you start caring about yourself and start caring about those in your community that are less fortunate than you, and you come together and find out what their problems are and take it to your city officials who say, I want to be your boss, and tell them we need these resolved. And when they submit to you that they can't do it and they agree to go take it to the next level, the governor's level, so all the cities within that state going to the governor saying, hey, these are the problems that's been identified. What can you do about it? And if they submit and do all they can and still fall short, but agree to go with you to the national government, the federal government, and say these are the problems of the states of this United States as far as the people are concerned, and we need to have these addressed. I know they've existed for a long time, but right now we have changed our way of thinking. We care about ourselves, thus we must care about one another. And caring about one another, not a single one of us would like to go through the hard times that any of us are going through, so we want to get these corrected. So correct them. And if they gave everything they could, they would not take away the taxes that the business owners and the rich people get. They won't do that. They will not do that. And when you start talking about making something better, they're going to call that, what they're going to call that, trying to robbing the rich and giving it to the poor. They're not going to go for that. They're not going to go for redistribution of wealth. They're not going to go for that. And so what we're basically saying, ladies and gentlemen, is this. There are no bosses. There are no bosses. Bosses mean you own something. Nobody on earth owns anything. Everything is a given. And it is given to be used by all who needs it for the benefit of all that needs benefit. Nobody owns anything. Now, the reason that we have ownerships and all that kind of stuff is because we were tricked into believing that that was a good system. That system has failed. Nowhere. Look, do your research. Nowhere on the face of the globe is there peace and prosperity for everybody. Nowhere on the face of the globe are they seeking to have this done for everybody. Nowhere. So that means something is going on that is leaving the masses of the people out. And the masses of the people are denied the truth. And they allow this stuff to continue to happen. It is my business, it is my duty to tell you that there is a power that made you and made all things. And made it to work in harmony as harmony exists in things that you don't have anything to do with. And you take that lesson that it gives and use it for yourselves. That you protect one another from any force that would destroy anyone. Because if any one of you starts suffering from anything that comes outside, it's a virus. And you know what AIDS do? You know what the claps does? You know what the other STDs do? So you stop it. Because I know you don't want to stop making love. So you don't want to stop growing. You don't want to stop creating. So that means you must cut out anything that will come in and distract from it. That means the bosses got to go. Those laws that they instituted in your ignorance must now go because of your wisdom. And it will go when you say it will go. And we are saying that it must go when? Now. Why? Because you want to live. And you're not going to let the God of death destroy you. Because when you see people over in these third world countries suffering, they're showing you on the news every day how they're living in tents, homeless, starving, babies are dying. And I know in your mind, based upon what you've been trained to know, that's distant from you. And you have nothing to do with that. Sorry for them. If you could, you would donate to charities. And for those of you who can, many of you are. But that does not take away your responsibility. You see, while you are doing this, you are still lifting up a system and lifting up systems of the world to continue to exist. And these systems only exist by your power. I know those of you who don't have anything are saying that there's nothing that you can do. There is something that you can do. First of all, stand up. I know your bellies might be hurting. You might be hungry. But stand up. Stand up and tell the world how ugly it is. Don't just sit down and lay down and die out like somebody, like they want you to think that you're just suffering because maybe you were black. Maybe you're not them. Maybe you're another religious, whatever excuse they can. Stand up and show the world how ugly it is. And those people who got some jobs, who don't have to be struggling, let them know that they are responsible for this too. They are responsible for this too. Their position and status in the environment, in the society in which they live. Give support for the system as it exists. And it exists to do all of the things that it's doing, from the super wealthy all the way down to people who don't have anything, all the way down to giving no support to people who are outside of the world. And it only exists because of you. And you only allow it to exist because you don't know better. Now I'm telling this to you. That doesn't mean you're going to know better. Some of you might think about this. And some of you might be there, and all you needed was a little stroking, and this might be sufficient for that. But I want to tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen. You can sit back and say that's none of your business. But to do so means that you're not thinking about your children. You're not thinking about your grandchildren. You're not even thinking about your great-grandchildren. You're not thinking about that. Oh, that's so distant from you. You don't care about that. And you see, the same way as that spreads away from you and you appear not to care about that, that's the same way it has worked from the beginning of time, from where you are right now all the way back to the end of time, where all were one. And now we've stretched and stretched and stretched all across the globe into different nationalities, different races, and different colors, and different everything. But we are still one family. But we don't care about one another because we lost our history. It is time we reunite with our history and become one again. Ladies and gentlemen, now, I'm just a social scientist and one who has given his life to try to